Hello, and welcome to another edition of Publisher Profiles. This is a little series where I'm talking about my favorite Canadian independent publishers, although some of them won't be Canadian, actually. Today we're talking about Between the Lines books. Since 1977, which is actually my vintage as well. Wikipedia tells us Between the Lines Books is an independent Toronto-based publisher of nonfiction, most of which offers a critical perspective on culture, economics, and society. Since its inception in 1977, BTL has published approximately 250 titles, of which more than half are maintained in print, including seminal works by American cultural theorist Bell Hooks and Noam Chomsky. In 2012, BTL won the Wilson Prize for Publishing Canadian History. According to the Between the Lines website, Between the Lines is a social movement press, founded in 1977. We publish nonfiction books that expose and challenge oppression in our society. We aim to amplify the struggles of Black, Indigenous, and racialized communities, immigrants, women, queer folks, and working class people, which at this point is everybody but except the rich. BTL is proudly left-wing, and the books we publish reflect our activist roots and our commitment to social justice struggles. BTL authors are academics, journalists, artists, and activists. All our authors hope their books will spark political and social change. As a product of New Left radicalism, BTL embodies the cooperative and democratic ideals of its founders. BTL has no boss, no individual owner. We are run by a small staff and a dedicated volunteer editorial committee. Decisions on what we publish are made by consensus. We publish books not to seek profit, but to document and promote struggles for a better world. Challenge the mainstream and offer readers new perspectives on critical political issues. Our press is situated in Toronto, traditional Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee territory, subject to the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. This land was stewarded by the Mississauga of the Credit River and is home to many Indigenous peoples, including the Métis, and those displaced from their homelands by Canadian extractive and other industries. Together we share a responsibility to care for and nurture these lands and to struggle for a better future for the earth and all peoples. And I read that all because it's absolutely beautiful. And if anyone cares to disagree with that mission statement, I question you. I'm going to talk about the books that I have from the Between the Lines collection, books that I have on my bookshelf. But again, I did want to make a little quibble, a little criticism, that on the Between the Lines books website, there's no discounted section or no sales section. I'm probably going to quibble about that quite a bit, because especially now as we go into periods of time where we're going to go into a major recession and people are really struggling, I really want to encourage book publishers to set up sales and discount sections on their websites, because that's where I buy the bulk of my books, especially from Left-Wing Books and any other booksellers that have a discounted section. If books are on sale, I'll buy them. Anyhow, let's get straight to the books, because you've had enough of me yammering on, I'm sure. This first book, and you'll have seen, perhaps if you've seen this channel before, you'll see that I am very interested in issues around tenants and rental rights, rights for tenants, and keeping the rents down because they're too damn high. This is The Tenant Class by Ricardo Tranjan. Linda McQuaig, one of my favorite authors, says, in this provocative and persuasive book, Ricardo Tranjan reveals that there is no housing crisis. Rather, there is a rigged market in which powerful landlords ruthlessly exploit tenants with the full support of political leaders and the dominant homeowner class. The blurb goes on, but I will leave it at that. Very important stuff. Another really important book by Jane Kirby, Fired Up, about reproductive rights. What is at stake in the fight for safe, legal, and accessible abortion services, and who benefits from our dark legacy of coercive sterilization, eugenics, and population control? Reproductive rights are rights that everyone should be fired up about. And particularly now, because I'll say this as a personal thing. You know, my mother, who's in her 80s now, would say that, she would say, oh, you know, if the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre are going to attack abortion, then I'm going to go and protest. That's what's going to get me to protest. But now we actually have Mark Carney doing that, and liberals, right? They've just gutted the funding for Planned Parenthood. They cut the Ministry of Women and Gender. So it's actually the Liberal government that is now on the warpath when it comes to attacking reproductive rights and rights for women. So I find that absolutely appalling. And so we should be fired up about reproductive rights no matter who is in Parliament here in Canada. This is actually probably the book that got me to get into Between the Lines books. This is a book called Decolonize Drag. It is by Karim Kubchandani, and Karim Kubchandani has a drag alter ego, judgmental South Asian anti-Lahore Vajistan. And this is a really, really clever book. I haven't read all the way through it yet, but the main reason I got it, I have some slightly complicated relationship with the drag community here in Ottawa. I am a critic of the sort of overblown, puff, kind of RuPaul style of just empty drag that has no meaning, and that is kept by mostly white queer men who are actually quite problematic, especially here in Ottawa. And so this was a really, really important read about actually, although imagined as a queer subcultural practice, drag seems to be everywhere we look. From AI filters on TikTok to brunch, from state legislations to political rallies. Yet as drag enters the mainstream, largely due to the intense global popularity of reality TV competitions, RuPaul Drag Race, some kinds of gender-based performances fall out of the purview of what we could call drag. Decolonized Drag details the ways that gender is used as a form of colonial governance to eliminate various types of expression and track how contemporary drag both replicates and disrupts these forces. I can speak personally to the fact that drag here in Ottawa is being used for the purposes of what I would allege is white supremacy and the maintenance of some people's gatekeeping capacities in the status quo. So this is a really, really important book, and it's part of a series that Between the Lines Press has done around decolonization. So they have decolonized hipsters, decolonized museums, decolonized self-care, decolonized multiculturalism. And if we're not following the practice of decolonization, we are following practice of colonization. And that to me is anathema. So join me in decolonizing drag, and I would really, really love to talk with Lahore Vajistan. I love that name, but that's amazing. The Great Revenue Robbery, How to Stop the Tax Cut Scam and Save Canada. Some of the books that I have on my bookshelf are relatively old, actually, to be honest. Considering we are now in 2025 and this book was published all the way back in 2013. But of course, books like this are invaluable to understand where we've come from. And again, I'm going to read Linda McQuaig's little blurb on the back here. For decades, the right has flooded the airwaves and taken over the political podiums with its anti-tax hysteria. But Canadians are waking up to the simple truth that taxes are the price we pay for civilization, and that scrimping on taxes means scrimping on civilization. This collection of compelling essays deconstructs the misinformation spewed by right-wing think tanks and media outlets and reminds us that a far better social order is tantalizingly within reach. Unfortunately, I think we've gone backwards. You know, the whole axe to tax scenario and the carbon tax, that has now been axed, and has anybody benefited from that except the wealthy? We're no longer getting our rebates. I bought a number of these books actually from my local library. The main library here in Ottawa, and also all the library branches have little bookstores that they have set up for fundraising. These are ex-library copies, as you can see. I choose not to take them off because I'll ruin the book if I take them off, even though I think it's a bit unsightly. I don't want to ruin the book. Anyhow, so I was able to get these very, very interesting books at my local library. Gentrification is Inevitable and Other Lies. Also talking about the crisis that we have in terms of gentrification, housing, and making our society a livable place for all. Code White, sounding the alarm on violence against healthcare workers. I worked almost 2 years as a cleaner at the Ottawa Hospital. It was a very lowly job, but I sure as hell saw a lot of really questionable stuff. including violence against healthcare workers. And I think books like this are extremely important. And then also Radical Transformation, Oligarchy, Collapse, and the Crisis of Civilization by Kevin McKay. Now again, I think this book is 2017, but the crisis of civilization only seems to get worse, doesn't it? James Laxer was a really significant historian and writer on economics and history in Canada. Unfortunately, he passed away because he certainly would have been very, very high on my list of people that I would have liked to speak to. This is his book, Beyond the Bubble, Imagining a New Canadian Economy. He wrote this in 2009, so this was just as the last recession was really gaining pace. And I really, it would have been so wonderful to be able to talk to him and to James Laxer and to get his opinion on the coming recession. Because I don't know about you, but I can already feel it. I'm sure you can too. And finally, Whose Brave New World? The Information Highway and the New Economy by Heather Menzies. Now this book is really old. I mean, this book actually goes back to 2006. Let me rephrase that. This book is from 2009. This book is from 96, the year I entered Ryerson. So this goes back a long time. This is a very old book, but again, I think it's really important to have a view to where some of these processes started. So the hijacking of the information highway began pretty well from the beginning. And I would love to talk to Heather Menzies and see what she has to say about where we are all these years later. Anyhow, that's that for my books on the shelf by Between the Lines. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got something out of it, please go and buy some books from Between the Lines and all of the publishers that I have in this series so far. I'll be doing more videos about other publishers, and I hope you join me for those videos. Ciao for now.